Greetings, everybody, from around our beautiful blue planet, our generous Mother Earth, who calls us together today in this particular online fashion. It's not quite like being in person, but it's very, very close. And we enjoy the notion that we are all aspects of Mother Earth. And we work with the proposal in this online gathering that by being with each other, we open ourselves to the larger healing that Earth herself is bringing to us. And here's what one thought about healing. As we move from the edges of the sacred spiral that is the energy system of Earth herself, as we move from the edge defined by human beings' culture out here at the edge, and as we move closer to the essence of Earth, into that area where humans are not in control, as we connect on that level, then we begin to be a part of Mother Earth's balancing and harmonizing herself. And through our call today, we really aspire for all of us to enter into a greater harmony, a greater balancing of ourselves within Earth. So we want to invite you to join our chat. So if you go down to the bottom of your screen and click on chat, then you can begin to enter your comments. And Sheila Safer is monitoring that, and we'll look for your comments there. And at this moment, I want to invite you to take a breath and begin to focus on what aspect of your body, mind, soul would like to receive the generous and wholesome energy of Earth coming in and flowing to that specific point within your own energy system. So I'm taking a breath now myself. And I've been feeling some tension from time to time in my lower chakras, so I'm going to focus attention today on that. And also, as you breathe, I want to invite you, if you feel like it and it works for you, to put on the chat what aspect of yourself you would like to receive healing today during our time together. So you can picture the whole Earth today from people from all around who are bringing the focus of energy and the possibility into your life. And we would love to have that expression of yourself on the chat. Or if you have someone or some aspect of Earth that you would like to bring into the circle today, you can put that on the chat. And also, I would like to bring the people on the big island of Hawaii into our circle today, and for their needs, and also for the ecosystems themselves into our circle. So really, that's a good beginning, and thank you as some of you are beginning to respond by putting your expressions on the chat. We have today with us kind of a modern miracle in the form of Judith. So Judith took a fall, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. Wow. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here and so grateful for all of the people who've been supporting me. Speaking of why I would want to be here today. It just so happens that a couple of weeks ago, I was out walking and I slipped and fell and broke my right hip. So I'm sitting on my right hip right now, and it's responding to me in the various different ways, but I'm really, really excited about the sound healing prospect. And I'm really glad to be here with all my friends, and I'm grateful for all of the wonderful feedback you've been giving me in the way of prayers and healing energies and healing messages. So just know that I love you all, and that actually after just a few weeks, I'm walking without a walker and walking without a cane. So I feel very blessed that I can walk again. Aho.
Sing.
Okay, I'll sing. Of course, I'll sing. You have to put up with me. Oh, great spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside and all around me. Aho.
Oh, thank you, Judith. Thank you. And speaking of broken bones, I want to begin our discussion and experience today of sound healing by bringing Jack Jensen, orthopedic surgeon, in to our conversation. It's been about a decade or so ago that I broke my foot really in a pretty serious way, so that the bones were separated and they were not touching in the break. And so we had a lot of difficulty in allowing the bones to heal. And Jack and I worked on that together. We did drumming, we played the conch and so on. And then we found some ways of using sound in that healing. So Jack, if you would speak to that.
Certainly. What we did is we used an ultrasonic stimulator, and it's used to put the fracture area to induce healing. We did it 20 minutes a day, twice, and it essentially healed William's fracture. And the interesting thing about that is just before that, I had a patient, and her name was Dominique Mociano, and it was in the 96 Olympics. She had a fracture in her tibia below her knee, and I researched around and found this ultrasonic stimulator, essentially ultrasound, that was shown to heal fractures that had been 3 to 6 months of age. And I thought, well, if it can heal an older fracture, why can't it heal a new, fresh fracture? And so she had this fracture right before the Olympic trials. She was our top gymnast. And I put that on there, and I told her two things. I said, this is going to heal you. And I was keeping my fingers crossed, of course. But I also said, I want you to just visualize the little bone cells, like little ends of the time, little things that are going to start this healing. So we put it on there, and it healed. I went to Olympic trials. She went to the Olympics in Atlanta and won a gold medal. It was kind of nationally noted and internationally noted that this fracture had healed so quick. We subsequently published that, and it's a lead article in Science and Sports about using old to heal fresh fractures. And since that time, it's been commonly used. So we found that used in William's case, and now many, many people over the planet have used ultrasound, and in some areas kind of take it for granted that sound will heal bones.
Wow.
Yeah, I thank you, Jack, for that. And we're sort of starting out at this level here at a more understandable level, but this is scientifically sound now. At the time that we were doing it, it was more experimental. And in addition to that, Jack and I used all kinds of shamanic drumming, and we also used this conch shell, this particular conch shell. And in a few minutes, Calen Rayne's going to give us some interesting insight into how the instrument itself, in this case a conch shell, over time pulls into itself the powers and sounds that are healing through the years. And then when you make the sound with the instrument, it creates a circle of healing within the system. And this particular conch shell, kind of coupled with Jack's scientific device that made ultrasound, and brought to that healing experience, in my experience, a very rapid healing of my broken foot. So this particular conch shell, I'm going to blow it in just a second and direct it actually to those of you who are putting on the chat what you would like to feel healing, sound healing come into that particular point in your life. And also those of you who are not putting that on the chat because maybe it doesn't fit for you to do that, I'm going to blow this shell. But before I blow it, I just want to point out Calen's understanding of this, that this particular shell came into the hands of one of my foreparents, who's a Shawnee slave who was brought to this part of Texas. And this was a shell that was given to her because she was a healer, to aid and assist in healing. And so from that time, in around 1830 or 40, along in that time, just about the time Texas won its independence, this shell has been collecting and giving, collecting and giving. And so I'm going to blow it right now. And as I blow it, I invite you to take a breath and let the sound come to that point inside you today that would like to receive healing. Taking a breath. Aho. So in that way, every time I blow that shell, I am connecting with the generations of healers that are passed down through that sound. So let's shift gears now, and I want to introduce you to Kit Holmes. She's going to take us to another dimension of sound and its healing. And as a way of introducing her experience with the piano and also with creating music, I want to invite you to be inside the piano as she plays a little bit. It reminded me when I was growing up, I wasn't very talented with the piano. I tried to take a lesson or two, it didn't take with me. But my aunt was a concert pianist, and my sister was a gifted pianist. And we had a baby grand piano in our living room. And as those two gifted people would play the piano, as a small boy, I would crawl under the piano and allow the sounds to move through my body. And I invite you to do that, to picture yourself under the piano, absorbing the beautiful and gracious sounds that Kit Holmes is going to bring to us.
Well, hi, my name is Kit Holmes, and I'm sharing the healing using sound healing, I think from a songwriter's perspective. As a lifelong musician and a multi-instrumentalist and a singer, as I've been doing this all of my life, is finding those beautiful moments that just resonate, that we know resonates in not just hearing sound or feeling the beat of a drum in our heart, but when we know that there is a vibration that opens us. And my first experience really came from it as a musician, and not from using words or language, but just using musical tones and sounds and instrumental pieces that I wrote very early on. And as I moved through life as a musician and many day jobs and the way life throws at you, and learning and growing and moving back into a very deep spiritual practice about 20 years ago, is really about when I started to study the craft of songwriting, and essentially found my voice, my true voice. The music is always there. The piano is the first, is kind of an extension of my body, is the way people kind of describe it. I was at a retreat recently in Italy, and another songwriter participant, a friend of mine now, wrote a little piece and a little poem about it, and he said, "I think you were born sitting at the piano." And I thought, well, that resonates with me. And that's really the kind of the truth, is from that aspect, what music can do for us, not just sound, but music. My mother was a piano teacher, and she was pregnant with me. I'm the youngest of 3 daughters. She was pregnant with me when she was teaching piano, and I always tell people, I think I got the benefit of that, of just absorbing, literally absorbing the tones and her mood and her sounds and her feelings as she was teaching other people to play and as she played herself. So I've learned that using certain tones and certain pitches that correspond with the chakras, when I write meditation pieces, I find myself usually going to F, which corresponds with the heart chakra. Not necessarily writing initially to my own voice, but writing to where I'm feeling a resonance to joy or to power or to maybe some melancholy or sadness. And what we know about the structure of music and harmonics is when we play a major chord and play it, march style, we get that, man, I'm in. You can do anything, just I'm along, we're in with the crowd, we're in march step, we're happy, John Philip Sousa, his marches are so inspiring, and they just lift us because everything is boom, boom, boom on the beat. And when we look at the other parts of music, and when we're feeling a little bit more melancholy, we might throw a major seventh in there. And when we're feeling kind of blue, we play the minor chords. And when we feel a little bit, off-center, not off-center in a bad way, but when we're in that drifting place, playing the second. It kind of holds us just in a little bit of suspension above being solid with a major chord. And when we work with inversions, there's so much we can do in the way that we construct songs to invoke the mood. And what I learned about the craft, and learning more still, is the idea that it can drop in inspiration, but when we tune in, when we sit in the meditation, when we sit in nature, when we listen to the rhythm of nature, when we listen to bird song, when we listen to rain, the rhythmic stuff of the rain. I don't know if you've seen the video where a choir of snapping and then clapping and then stomping, and then you're hearing a thunderstorm, and it's created by the human body, multiple human bodies as one in their own vibration. One of the things that I learned several years ago, a man named Fabien Maman, a Frenchman, a jazz musician back in the 80s, who did this wonderful study. He was touring in Japan, and he noticed that Japanese audiences were very different than American audiences. They would, at the end of a song, he said it startled him at first. is when he finished a piece with his quartet or his band, they would just sit and take it in. And initially it was disconcerting. He thought, we must not be very good, they're not applauding. But they actually sat with the music for a little while, and then they let it just wash over them, and then they expressed their gratitude. And he started working with vibration. He started working with Oriental medicine. He started studying it very deeply. And he came up with this system with a Carillion camera where he could look at the cells of a body and see when an acoustic tone was played to that cell, it had its own frequency. And it would light up in these beautiful colors. And there's a picture, you can see the book, you can get it online still. And everybody has their own resonant frequency. And so they studied with people. And then his next phase of study was what sound can do to heal cancer. And what he found was that if a positive thing can light up you know, that right thing, and it had to be an acoustic instrument, it couldn't be electronic, it had to be a tuning fork, a violin, a flute, a mandolin, it could be the human voice. But when you found your resonant frequency, and it just, its own unique pattern for everyone and everything. But what he found was that you could send a certain frequency to destroy cancer cells. And he was able to take pictures of before and after of applying the sound healing. So this from a jazz musician, and this what we know as we sing together in groups, we sing certain words together, certain tones together. We feel it in our bodies, and we feel that lifting and that lively place. And so what I do in this last 20 years of my spiritual practice and my growth and finding that oneness and that vibration in the universe is that all of my songs are from a positive place. I'm not a tear in your beer kind of girl. I mean, I have some of those songs for fun, and they are mockingly fun, but what I put out into the world is about healing, about discovering that we really are shared in that one place. So if we have some time left, I want to share a song with you. And this is the one that I want to go out to the world, and it is called Here to Be.
Justice, a light for hope and peace like the world has never known, and love, oh love, is who we've come here to be. The world has never known. to be.
Thank you.
Judith and I were both feeling teary as we experienced the sound of love coming through our heart, minds, and soul. And that's a beautiful, beautiful moment. Thank you, Kit. And we'll have more of Kit in the future. So I want to shift gears now to another form of sound, and we welcome to the circle today Calen Rayne from the Wisdom School. And Calen is going to be speaking to us about Himalayan singing bowls and the role of sound and acoustics and resonance and amplification. So we'll shift now to Calen Rayne.
Hello, my name is Calen Rayne. I live in Buxton, Maine, just outside of Portland, and I'm a geomancer at heart. I moved to this area to work with Ted Carter Landscapes to install sacred landscapes. I've placed 4 labyrinths in Maine, and just recently dropped 13 small Japanese gardens on the ocean coast. The way I call forth the energetics of any of the landscapes that I present is with sound. When I do my paintings, whether portal paintings or some kind of painting that's designed for a healing process for someone, the last component of that is sound, because it's believed that every sound that ever happened is still somewhere out in the field somewhere. So I find sound very important. In the tradition that I trained in the Himalayas, people did medical intuitive work with the Himalayan singing bowls. Some people refer to them as Tibetan singing bowls. That's a misnomer of sorts. The bowls were initiated probably in the Newari tribe of Nepal and crafted by various communities around the Himalayas, but it's not specifically a Tibetan singing bowl. Tibetans tend to use bells and dorjes. So I find the singing bowl is a very important way to activate sound and to activate any kind of painting or anything that I'm doing. In ancient times in the Himalayas, the sound was used for medical intuitive work, as I said, diagnosis. A person would lie down or enter a specific eco field designated by the healer, and they would be sounded with a Himalayan singing bowl. And what we look for when we do that is for an aberration in the sound, or the sound being a little off. So if you're scanning someone's body and you scan their arms, you scan their legs, you scan their torso, at some point you'll hear a little something that seems off in the vibration or the tone that's coming out of the bowl. And that's how a healer in the Himalayas would have been able to figure out what energetic anomaly was present in a person. The healer would construct in his mind some kind of algorithm of sound the intention of that was to heal a specific frequency in an energetic anomaly that they had identified in a person's body. And once they constructed the algorithm, as I call it, that series of tones would be sounded with the bowl over that specific area on the body with the intention of doing healing. The final arbiter of all my work is a Himalayan singing bowl, and I have several, but the main bowl is what some people refer to as a lineage bowl, which I've carried around the world for the last close to 20 years, downloading sounds from sacred sites and from people I meet and from places I go and teachings I listen to, because the bowl accompanies me and it's seated next to me, even if it's not sounding, but it's taking in information. And these bowls were designed to take in, maintain, and convey information over a long period of time. So this particular bowl is a little over 600 years old, the late 14th century. So the intention with this bowl, when I carry it around the world, is that it's doing healing work through its sounds. And I'm fortunate in that this bowl can produce a wide range of frequencies, so that one thing is that I placed a labyrinth on the property at Will and Judith's place near Wimberley, and the ground wasn't that conducive to the growing of, in this case, bluebells. But during the scan of the field, the field was missing several frequencies. And when I completed the labyrinth and had finished my work, and using some other sacred tools I had done what some people call earth acupuncture for that specific area where the labyrinth was, and then walked the labyrinth and sounded the singing bowl, and it identified all of the energetic anomalies on the ground and mitigated anything that was prohibiting something that wanted to birth there from entering that process. And if you watch the video on the Earth Tribe website now, you'll see bluebells growing out of that labyrinth. And I consider that healing with sound, because I had healed, the bowl had actually healed a piece of land so that it could manifest something that had been there all along, but was just missing a certain avenue of sorts or a certain pathway in order to actualize. So that's the intention with the bowl. Oh, I'm going to sound, it's interesting. I had nicknamed my wife, Jenny, who's a feng shui master. I had nicknamed her Shri, and on my cell phone, I had put SHRI, which means goddess. And we attended a training in Himalayan singing bowls. And at the end of the class, there were bowls offered for sale on the table. And this was a very large bowl that had been in a monastery, we think in India, several centuries ago. And it was sounded at the beginning of the day, and then it was sounded at the end of the day to open and close the meditation hall. And we were just sounding it, and we thought the sound was really good and decided to purchase it. And when I tipped it over, there's a little sticker. I don't know if you can see the little sticker on the back, but the sticker says Shri, a family offering bowl in Bengali script. So it was just interesting that the bowl we were called to was named the same thing that I had nicknamed my wife. So I'm going to sound this, and this would have just been sounded one time as opposed to sung or played, just to announce the opening of meditation hall and the closing. So that particular sound, I call it a lingering sound, because you can sound it. I didn't tap it as hard as I could, but you can get sometimes a good 3, 4, 5 minutes off of it before the sound totally dissipates. And then the second bowl, I'm going to see if this works for me. This is known as if you're lucky during your lifetime, you can find a bowl that's basically resonates at your frequency, and it's used for oral transmissions when you're giving secret teachings, and the bowl basically needs to have the same resonance as your voice for delivering the teachings, and you talk over the top of the bowl and it turns into kind of an odd sound, but basically you're being able to, that way, to speak secret words and transmit them through sound to another person. So for the purpose of healing, there are certain symbols, like the Egyptian biogeometric signatures. No one really has access to those symbols, as in just having the symbol and being able to go and use it. Once you're trained, you have access to the symbols, and then in theory you should internalize those symbols and then determine the best way for you to present the tones or the symbols to a person in the healing process. And I'm just fortunate with the Himalayan singing bowl that I visualize the Egyptian biogeometric signatures in this case and put them in a verbal form, and then are able to speak them through the bowl, and then the bowl is able to extend that healing through the sound of the sacred symbols without them actually being, shared visually, because it's more powerful for it to come through the sound. And then this is the main bowl, the lineage bowl, and I'm going to sing it. The actual singing of a bowl is just, you're turning the bowl with what we call a stick. Is probably the easiest way to determine it. But in this case, I'm just going to sing the bowl. And then another method of my sound healing practice is facilitating what's called a Kalavankana meditation, which is an ancient Vedic meditation on time cheating. And I'm seated in a room with a massage table, maybe 15 or 20 different sound instruments, and probably 300 ritual objects from all over the world, a set of anatomy charts, and 60 purbas, which are ritual daggers from the Himalayas that are also used for healing. And the way that healing takes place is a person is placed on the table, and through the singing bowls, the lineage bowl in particular, you try to reduce a person to a state where it's almost like suspended animation. And then you can introduce all of these healing objects in the room into the bowl. You can just sit them in the bowl and sound it. You can set them next to the bowl and sound it. And there are different ways for everything in this room to be involved in the healing process of someone. And through the anatomy charts, an energy anomaly can be picked up, and the purbas do their work energetically. And the idea is that it's the sound itself that is conveying the healing from all of the ritual objects in the room. And that's known as a Kalavankana meditation. So those are the different ways that I'm using sound healing.
Okay, thank you so much, Calen, and we're going to come back to that in just a moment and have you make a couple of create with your bowls a sound. And I want for everybody who would like to go to your chat. You can go down to the bottom of your screen and click on chat. And I just want to note some of the requests that have been made, because we're going to make some sounds here in just a few moments that are specifically directed to these requests. We have from Karen Smith a request for healing for her hips, and from Germany, Denise is in New Mexico where they might be having some of the fires. From Alonzo in London, the UK, bringing healing to let go of attachments. Armaya is asking for the flow of water throughout her own body and ability to flow with change. We have also coming from Pia, healing to her womb and the healing of our friends Jane and Camilla and to Mother Earth as a whole. And from the Reverend Joy Ellen Lipsky, recovering from a third back surgery and neck surgery, having complications. So we will be sending sound and love into that area. Pia from Sweden sends smiles to come to all of us. Karen Frank asks all of us to bring a significant raise in consciousness that will free us all and help heal humanity and Earth as a part of Earth, I would add. Regina Water Spirit in New Mexico, bring healing for her whole immune system and her wounded heart, and for all the refugees of Syria and elsewhere, especially the ones who came to Germany. Gail asked for healing to come to hip flexors and lower spine on a personal level. Annette Dunn asks for expanded awareness for an upcoming vision quest. Joy Dillon asks for healing to knees, hands, and to vertigo. Betty Owen asks for healing to lower back and kidney and renewed energy, and for grandson's depression. Person from Germany, Blyer, asks for the second time she's been in hospital in Germany, appreciating the call. There's a request to bring healing for the nettle rash to Daniel from Germany, or Danielle. And so we have many, many requests, and you can tune into those requests as we circle back to Calen Rayne. Dan, if you would bring Calen in live. So Calen, you have your lineage bowl there handy?
Yes. I was dowsing the chat there, and the two pieces that were called in were this little small Ganesh, which is for removing obstacles, which helps in the healing process. And then little tiny elk's tooth. I had performed a sound healing for a Cherokee healer's spouse in Oklahoma, and he gifted me with this little elk's tooth, which is a very kind of a rare thing. So what I do is I just drop those two pieces in the bowl, and then as I sing the bowl, you'll hear them vibrating because they jump. When I do weddings, I place the wedding rings in the singing bowl right before people put them on, and they pop up and down like Mexican jumping beans, which is kind of a nice thing for wedding. But these are the two healing things that were called in today.
Good. Thank you, Calen. And I go back to our original comments from Jack Jensen about ultrasound. So some people could hear some of that sound and some could not hear the last part of the sound, but the sound comes through in an ultra channel, an energetic channel that comes our way. And then before we close, I want to sing, Judith and I, to sing a healing song for all of the requests that were made, a healing song that came to us in our lineage with Bearhart Williams. And we'll sing it together, and then I'll blow the conch, and then we'll move to the next phase of our being together. Amamai Toma, Amamai Toma, Hey Na Hey Ne Yawakili Aitoma, Amamai Aitoma, Amamai Aitoma, Amamai Aitoma, Hey and I, yo. Then blowing the conch into the parts of your body, mind, and soul that you expressed and maybe did not express, that comes to you as we receive the healing collected through the ages, through the sea around us, through all the divine feminine and the integrated masculine, as we call on spirit to heal us, and especially us as aspects of Earth herself. Aho. Yeah, just as an aside, each morning at sunrise, we'll take some of these chats over this next week, and as Judith and I gather at the edge of a canyon behind our house, we'll blow the conch for you, and I'll hold the conch down and blow it into the bones that are healing the muscles for all the hips. We had a lot of hips and a lot of knees and spines expressed today as we seek to bring that more and more into our conscious awareness. So to shift gears now, we started with the Olympic healing of one of our athletes through an ultrasound machine, and we went deeper into the wonderful healing tones of Kit Holmes, and then we had the singing bowls that Calen brought to us, and then we had this healing song that Judith and I sang. And now as we go into the depths and come back up, I want to call for a closing moment to bring in Will Turner from the Earth Wisdom Academy staff. So Will, if you would introduce how you would like to bring the world into our circle.
Hello, everyone. Well, I got back recently from a walkabout in Australia, and while I was there, I had many amazing experiences with sound and music and nature. And this video I created is a short video reaching into the international community for everyone there who's coming to this video on an international level and on a national and local level. And I invite everyone before watching the video with me to just take one deep breath and resonate with the music of nature and the music of the streets in Australia. All right, well, here comes the video, and I hope you enjoy.
And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And that's a great bridge into our gathering on July 7th, where we will experience community as an amplifier of healing. So over the next few months, we will continue to emphasize healing. So you can tell your friends and whoever you would like to bring into the circle that we'll be using not only sound healing, but the healing of community as a way for us to heal ourselves. And also, I just want to express gratitude to all of you for your willingness to experience this really unconventional way of being online, where we experience each other and we experience healing together. We're grateful to Heather Ash and the Warrior Goddesses and to the Wisdom School for love and participation. Finally, we want, as a way to sign it, to thank the Earth Wisdom Academy of the Earth Tribe Spiritual Community for financial and staff support that we can actually bring you these moments for us together. And so I say to all of you, in Nake, you are our cherished relatives.